Good afternoon, all. This is Trishti from People Matters, and we are back with an exciting session. Today's webcast is in partnership with LogMeIn on the topic How to Accelerate Learning in the Organization Through Virtual Sessions. Have you had webinar ideas to run in your organization, an HR policy, or a learning course, but did not know how to begin? This webcast might be for you. Webinars are one of the most widely used content dissemination channels. They have also been one of the effective ways to share and engage with an audience spread across different locations without having to invent the space for a physical meeting. In this webinar, we will look at the practical tips that will help you ideate and engage with this widespread audience. Here's what we will cover: the simple recipe for guaranteed webinar, how to tame the tech and harness it for engagement, how to get massive audience interaction, top tips to get your viewers to take action. I'll now take the pleasure to invite and introduce the expert who has the answers to all these questions. Our speaker for today, Inigo Praveen, Business Unit Head, Collaboration and Communications at LogMeIn. Hi Praveen. Hi Inigo.
Hi, Drishti.
Now let me tell you
So,
more about our partner for today's webcast, LogMeIn. LogMeIn is a high-performing team who believes that people are at the core of an organization's success. They are supporting 2 million daily users, 200 million customer engagements, and 5 billion voice minutes per year. They have not only capitalized on but helped invent the modern way of working, which is flexible, dispersed, mobile, efficient, and productive. Inigo manages the sales of the of business in the region. He has spent more than 10 years in the technology industry with senior roles in consulting and conferencing industry across multiple geographic regions. He is a tech whiz at heart and also an avid reader of fiction novels. Now, before I hand it over to Inigo, let me remind the audience that we have saved time for them to ask their questions at the end of the webcast. For those who are live, can simply submit post questions at any time during the session, and we will try to respond to as many questions as time allows. Now, as we have an exciting topic to discuss in this webcast, without any further delay, let me invite Inigo to take over. Over to you, Inigo.
uh, thanks a lot, Drishti. Thanks for all the kind words. And it's a pleasure to be doing this webinar with your set of customers and your engaged audience. Let's hope that this webinar is able to help people redefine and make their webinars a lot of fun and their virtual sessions a lot of fun. Right. So let me start off with something as simple, right? So what do you people or as audience believe is the most binge show? What is that one show that people have been talking about? I mean, for me personally, it was Game of Thrones. So let's see if people can put in their questions or their answers in the question pane. So what do you think is the most binge show? So I hope people would be seeing a lot of shows. Some people would be seeing The Orange is the New Black, Narcos, lots of stuff like that. But what do you think is happening? Okay, I have a few answers that are coming through. So people are putting it there. Great. Okay. So, oh, Friends, which is good again. So I think that's a classic. So now, given that, oh, there's also people watching Baywatch. Okay, so that's another classic in that space. So there are lots of these shows, but for the millennial crowd, I think the Game of Thrones is one of the most expected and the most binge show for the last few years, and they're eagerly expecting something that's coming out as well. So, so to the most important question for today's webinar, how fun are your webinars? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch a poll. So all of you should be able to see that now in 5 seconds. Great. So I've just launched that. So can all of you start voting and say how fun are your webinars? Awesome, great, could be better, hanging by the thread. And just about 5 seconds, I have lots of people answering, which is a great sign, right? So, okay, few people are talking awesome, few people are saying hanging by the thread, some people are saying great, okay. So we'll give it another 5 seconds, closing in 3, 2, 1. Great. So we've closed the webinar. Let me share the results with you guys, right? So 21% of people are saying that it is really awesome, which is a good sign. 63% say it could be better, and 16% are saying it's hanging by the thread, right? So while it shows that the crowd is an equal mix of people, but I've got something for each and every one of you, right? For people who say it's awesome, we can look at things to make it even more better. For people who say it is great, it could be better, yes, this webinar is going to talk about things that are going to make your virtual sessions, be it webinar, trainings, meetings, even your one-on-ones, more powerful, more engaging. And the last one, which is the 16% of people are going to be talking about hanging by the thread. I know how that could be, but let's look at scenarios where we make it even more fun. So given that's being said, let's look at what is it really stopping all of us from having fun in webinars or the virtual sessions. I personally think, and this is again some data of the people that I speak to on a daily basis, I think it is that people don't know and they are not aware of tactics that is going to make it simpler and it's going to be engaging for people. So here we are, we're going to give you those tactics which are going to help every one of you into making your virtual sessions awesome. So here's the laundry list of things of what are those tactics that we're going to talk today. We're going to be talking about tactics like icebreakers. We're going to be talking about tactics like banter, engagement tools, fonts, game shows, and something like an open mic, right? So we're going to be talking about different tactics, how it's helped people, and what is the reason that you as an organizer or as a trainer should use this to drive this, and how is it going to help you achieve your specific key result areas, right? So let's start off with the first one, icebreaker. All of us understand the importance of breaking the ice, right? And we talk about scenarios where the first 30 seconds is very crucial to every conversation. These are scenarios because you want to be talking to people and people need to stay relevant into a conversation. So it becomes important for you to break the ice in the most relevant manner possible. So what are the tactics to that? So these are the two tactics that we generally follow. Talk to people about things that they would love to talk about. Get them interested in a topic. There are scenarios where we talk to folks from international locations. We talk to them about things that they love. For example, a basketball or baseball for a US folk. So he would get started leaning into a conversation. Or if you're going to be talking to people about blockchain, talk to them about something which is very simple for them to start the conversation on. Or set something which is completely different. For example, I started off this presentation with Game of Thrones and I started talking about what is the most binge show. And people would be like, this webinar was not about shows and why is he talking about it? That's going to make people curious about what is he going to discuss in the next few slides and for the next few minutes. It is going to keep your people engaged and they're going to love the content that you're going to talk. Higher the engagement, better the audience, better is your results of webinar, more is your leads, higher is your ROI. So ensure that you break the ice very, very clearly, and that's very, very crucial for people. So the common question that comes out when we talk about this is, hey Inigo, yeah, it's a good topic, but what if I'm going to talk something which is very nerdy? Imagine a topic like blockchain. Imagine a topic which is AI or machine learning for that matter. And I'm sure that most of you would be talking about it. So if these are cases that you're talking, then my recommendation would be to also have a conversation with them. So what is that you can do for that, right? Start early, right? You set the tone, but ensure it's not very, very heavy when you start the conversation. Start early, greet the attendees as they come in. So you could say, hey, Mr. Ashwin, thanks for coming here. I think we have a few other people on this. Akhil James. Hi, Amar. Hi, Nagpal. Hi, Anshika. Hi, Arundam. So there could be people that I could address them by their names and they would be happy. For example, Tripti Bayas, Tarani Taran. So these are people that I could say, welcome to the webinar, and they would feel a part of this, just like how they would normally do a face-to-face meeting or a face-to-face discussion. Make them feel welcome. Start your recording right from the time you start presenting. So the recording that you send to people don't miss anything out. And more importantly, I think you would have seen the registration form for this particular webinar, where we would have captured a few other information that could give you an understanding of what the audience are like. So know your audience, set a very clear tone, and I'm hopeful, and we have seen this happen in the past, that you'll be able to have the smoothest icebreaker, which would lead into a scenario where you have attendees sticking on to the webinar for a long duration. And if you ask me some stats, you will have more than 15% of people who would drop off when the webinar starts if you're not able to you've not broken the ice properly. 15% of your attendees is a crucial number. So let's start doing this. So it's going to be great for people who attend. So let's say that we have done with the first part of it. I've broken the ice. What next? Banter. So the common question is, say, what's banter? Banter means two people talking. Is that what we are talking about? Yes. So if you're looking at any of these events that you go and attend, a very important portion of that is a scenario where there are panel discussions. And most people would agree with me on this, that they believe that the panel discussion gives them more insights than any presentation that people present there around documents or around things that happen. So this is an animation of Taylor Swift, so people would know her. At least the millennial crowd would know her. They would love her songs. So imagine a scenario where, just like me and the People Matters team, Drishti, who spoke at the starting, and imagine we're just having a conversation on a topic and people are going to listen to it and people are going to ask questions on it. There's going to be a higher interaction. And just like I said, people could put in the questions into this. They could put their answers or their queries into the question pane. On a live chat, it could be a scenario where we pick up the questions and we could answer it. So this kind of an interaction is only going to drive your interactions in the session, which is going to lead to your attendees having lots of fun. They're going to recommend this to other people, and your webinars are going to be awesome, and your virtual sessions. So internally, for us, any virtual session is a webinar, but I believe it might not be the same case outside. So that jargon of webinar would keep coming a lot of times in my presentation. So use that as virtual sessions. So now that we have done with banter, what's another tactic? How can I make this even more better? Another tactic is to use engagement tools, right? So what are engagement tools that you can commonly think of? Engagement tools are surveys, polls, question answers. So these are things that are going to keep people involved in a session. And most importantly, the common question that you would ask is, hey, how do I know that they are attentive? Yes. So there are tools that are available even on the GoToWebinar that you are attending at the moment. I would be able to pinpoint why people on if they're attentive or not attentive. And I can also look at it from a session standpoint. So if there's about 80% are attentive at the moment, so which is a good sign. The moment it starts dropping, then I start going back and launching up a poll or a question. One second. Yes. So let's go back to the scenario where we're presenting the other types of engagement tools. So one is use a Q&A in our doc scenario. Just like I said, start putting in your most binge show or the show that you love. You had people answering on the questions pane. You could use an ad hoc session. The other thing is to do a pulse check. which I will be doing at a later point in my presentation, just to check if people are listening to this or if I'm going at the right pace. The next thing is about scenarios around use polls to drive interaction. Just like how I said, there are scenarios where you could create a poll, have people launch it out for people, and people could answer. So these are scenarios that are quite often that people use. There are some people who also use surveys. So there are scenarios where you could use an interactive survey tool, launch it up. You can ask the audience to go there and start putting questions, and people can start putting questions there. And they will then, the top rated question or the top rated suggestion is what is picked up for the next question part of it. So different methods to keep your people engaged. And please remember this, if your audience is not engaged, they're going to be losing focus. And we'll go back to your classic scenario in your trainings, physically present and mentally absent. So it is up to us as trainers or as people to ensure that they are with that. And the next tactic is to create a laugh with something called as rule of three. As the name suggests, we're going to be talking about three things, right? So what are these types? These are types like, one of this is expected, surprise. One could be serious, ridiculous. One type is a big, small. And one important is real, self-depreciating, right? And if you want some examples on how this is done, yeah, here we go. So let's look at a scenario which is serious, ridiculous. So an example would be, today we are here to answer important questions for our organization. How will our vision impact the world? How will we succeed? How will we help you succeed with us? And why the heck can't we have hand sanitizers in our restrooms? So imagine the scope of that question. One talks about impact of the organization to the world, and on the other end, you're talking about something as small as hand sanitizers. So this methodology of this questioning is going to bring people, is going to bring their attention back into the concept that you're talking. Another example of a tactic which is big, small is we are all motivated by health, wealth, and biryani. Some people might relate to this, but few people are like, why biryani? What is that? It's again irrelevant to the question that we are talking, but simply for the fact it's irrelevant, people are going to be like, did I hear it right? Is he talking about this? And they're going to be more attentive to what you're going to talk. And the last one is real self-depreciating. An example for that is, in his spare time, Ramu works on his next book, volunteers at a homeless shelter, and plays guitar badly for any band unlucky enough to have it. So that's self-depreciating for the subject that we are talking, but it's also humorous in a way where people are still going to be attentive, you're going to get a laugh about it. And that's again going to keep your people engaged on it. So these are some examples of tactics that you could use to keep your people engaged. It could be in form of questions that you're going to talk about. It could be in form of engagement tools. It can also be in terms of scenarios where two people are talking. So what's the next tactic? This is very common with all the big trainers or with the big stalwarts who are big orators. It's to incite a mental response. So the question is, hey, what is a mental response, right? So it's a scenario where people are thinking it in their brains, but they're not actually telling it. So if I'm asking you a question, hey, did all of you have lunch? The moment I asked you this question, most of you would have reacted and thought about yes, no. Your brain would have thought about it, but you would not have verbally said it. And these are scenarios which will help you when you talk. This will help in scenarios around the nerdy scenarios where you're talking concepts which are very deep. So let me give you a real life example. All right. So the person in the picture is Sir Ken Robinson, and I hope few of you would know him. So he's one of the best TED speakers, and this particular video that we are talking about has crossed more than 10 million, 52 million views, right? So what am I talking here? So he's talking about impact of education and questions around education when you have a conversation. So he says, if there are people and if you ask them about their education, they pin you to the wall. And it's one of those things that go deep with people. And he finishes off that sentence with saying, am I right? There are few people in the audience who nod their head and say yes. There are people who voice it out. And there are few people who are thinking about it. So they may not have answered yes verbally, but they are thinking and their brain has already answered for it. The moment you invoke that kind of a response, people are engaged in your session. They are looking forward to what you're telling them and what you're going to tell them next. Very, very powerful from a scenario of what you want to do. So inside the mental response, this would help you if you're talking something very nerdy, something which is very not basic, but people want to learn about. Blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning, topics like those. So we are done with 5 tactics. Hope I'm not rushing into it. People are following up. I have a few people who are attentive. So let me wait for a second. So if people think that I am going at the right speed, can you just type in yes in the question pane? Or if you think I should slow down, can you say, can you slow down a bit? Okay, I have one person saying yes. Okay, a couple of people saying yes. Okay, great. Great. So thank you very much. So this is another method of a pulse check, and this is also going to be a measure of people whether they are engaged in what you're doing. This is a very good sign. It's going to be great, and this is going to help all the people specifically in the HR space, right? So imagine, look at all the sessions that you guys are doing. There are a mix of scenarios where you're doing concepts to processes to scenarios around self-improvement, and you can't expect people to be involved in every single topic that you do. And it's really, for them, it's a part of their job, and it becomes very, very important for them. Okay, I have a suggestion from a person who says tactic number 5 was a bit rushed. Okay, great. So I'll give you another example. All right, so this is the tactic number 5 that we are talking about, which is an insight, a mental response. So another example would be, let's say you guys, specifically in the HR, you would be doing lots of your CEO town halls, right? And your CEO would be talking. Imagine a scenario where your CEO is talking about a concept. Or let's say I am talking about a concept and all of you are sitting right in front of me. And I'm explaining a concept to you. And then I say, hey guys, how many of you understood this concept? Can you please raise your hand? There will be a portion of people who would raise their hand. There will be a portion of people who won't raise their hand. But they would have already done that in their brain, saying, yeah, I want to raise my hand, I don't want to raise my hand and stuff. So that is a measure of people being engaged. You just wanted people to raise their hands for 2 reasons. One, you wanted to know if they are with you. And number 2, you wanted them to be a part of this conversation, and you really wanted to know if you're pacing it right. That's the idea about that. So use that with these questions. Am I right? What do you think? Is it correct? Am I on the same page as you? So these are common questions which would incite a mental response where people are thinking, their brain has already answered for it. They might or might not answer it verbally. All the big orators use this at specific points in their presentation just to bring back people. Words like, you're awesome. Words like, can I give a round of applause to all of yourselves? So these are other methods to incite work or incite people to move or incite at least a mental response. Okay, moving on. I'll go to the 6th tactic, right? Mimic someone famous with a selfie, right? So this is a very exciting part of my presentation, and I hope few of you might have a laugh at the next slide which comes up. Right? So do people know the person on my left? I hope people know you. Know him. So he is Kim Jong-un, the North Korean leader. And so I'm called the Kim Jong-un of LogMeIn. So people say that I've got an uncanny resemblance to him. And there's another way. I think he's living off my fame. I mean, LogMeIn is a very big company. People in LogMeIn know me. North Korea is too small. So I was just living off my fame. This can bring out smile with lots of people, and people are going to love it. I already have a couple of people who have said, nice example. Some people have said, it looks wonderful. So I think, thank you for the kind words. But the intention is that I'm having people engaged on this conversation. And just imagine, a few minutes back I was talking to you about people attentiveness at about 60%. My current attentiveness is about 75%. 15% jump with just one slide. Imagine you doing this on a regular basis and you are able to get that kind of a response. It's going to be fun, right? So with that, let's move on to a tactic number 7. This tactic is something that all of us did as kids. We continue doing this in different ways and forms. It is just that we do it unconsciously. We'll have to start practicing it, right? So let's look at this particular slide. This slide talks about 133 mobile phones per 100 citizens. And the moment this slide came up on your screen, most of you would have looked at just the 133, and you would not have had a context to the continent or the country, which is Australia, at the back. And you might have not even looked at it, but the only thing that would have hit your brain was 133. And we used to do this very regularly in exams. We used to write that on paper with multicolored, black, highlighted with underline, and then there is this beautiful blue ink on which you wrote your exam papers, and then you have drawings and all that stuff. We're just trying to mimic that into your corporate scenario. Use fonts, use different colors, but don't overdo it. Use that in a way where it's going to grab attention specifically to the things that you want people to pay attention to. If you want people to score 100% in their evaluations exams, in the slides that you are doing, please highlight the important points in a different size and a different color, or if possible, in a completely different font. We keep doing this. I keep doing this as a part of things that I do. And some of the fonts that I use, some of your organizations, I would recommend you to go back and check if you can do this. There are things in dafont.com, there are things in fffonts.com, there are fonts like Academic M54. I think one of these I'll be using it later. I have something called a Chalk Duster. That's another font that we keep using. So these are fonts that you could use with a different size, a different color, make your content stand out on that particular slide, so people are going to pick it up even subconsciously. So the retention level of the content that you do is far higher. And as HR and L&D folks, I'm sure that is going to be a measure of success from your session. If 100% of people pass with 90% and more in your exam, I think that's a clear-cut example of your capability as a trainer, the capability of your content, and the way it was delivered. And we keep having this very often in our organization, and it's been delivering results to us. So moving on to the next tactic. It's called a riff on a game show or a board game. So what does that mean, right? So most of you would have seen this Kaun Banega Crorepati, right? And most of us would have wanted to be a part of it. I've been trying to be a part of that for the last few seasons. I've not been even able to get through. So, right? So I've been trying to do that quite often. So, but why am I trying to bring that here, right? There's another method where you're going to have engagement with audience. Imagine a scenario where if your TRP ratings can go well, either because of Amitabh Bachchan or Shah Rukh Khan or because of that game show, imagine what it can do for your sessions. It's going to be fun. We've been doing this with our audience, for our customers, and we've been able to rake in lots of good leads, potential people, and they've been able to stick with us for a very, very long time, right? So let me, without ado, talk to you about a poll, right? So which, again, is a good sign of seeing if people are engaged, right? So the question is, let's see if people out here are smarter than a typical webinar presenter, right? You are the folks who make a lot of presentations, so I hope that you're going to get your answers correct, okay? So before I go to the poll, let me talk to you about the question. What's the question? So this is a 2012 research done by the University of North Texas, right? So this university did a research, and then they said, okay, what is the maximum time that a person can be able to sit through a presentation, right? So which means you don't want your presentation to go beyond 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or yeah, some people ask, is this before or after happy hours? Common question. I can answer, I can relate to you guys. 4 o'clock on Thursday, yes, we are there. So let me launch the poll, and let's start seeing how people start answering this, right? Oh, okay, great. Oh my God, so I've got people answering across all the different options. I'm happy to see that there are a few people like me who are like, let's do it before or after the happy hours. That's the best time for a presentation. Okay. 28%, 44%, 16%. We'll give it another 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's close it off. Great. Let me share the results with you. All right. So 30% of you believe it should be 10 minutes. 44% of you think it should be 20 minutes. And 15% of you think about 30 minutes. And there's 11% of you who, if I was a part of the audience, would have talked about saying, hey, before or after happy hours. All right? But imagine this as a concept. And would it be surprising to you that none of these are the right answers? What if I told you none of these are the right answers, and I have a completely new answer to you? I mean, most of you like, oh, interesting. Okay, so here the answer with the radio, right? On a GoToWebinar, the one that we are using, on which you could present, there are people who are willing to spend as much as 61 minutes. And you say, hey, is it for one webinar? Not really. So as a company, which is a product company, we also do something called as a big book of stats, which is basically analyzing close to about 900,000 top webinars that happen in that particular time. And we look at some stats, something around what is the right time for a webinar to happen. Why do you think we're doing it on a Thursday at 3 o'clock? That's because the stats say that's the right time for you to get the audience. Similarly, it says if you have the right content and if you have the right set of the presentation tactics, you can have people sticking on to you to as high as 61 minutes. Do you know that we're almost like 33 minutes into the session and we have less than 4 people who have dropped out? So that's a sign, right? It's been about 33 minutes. I have less than 4 people who have dropped out, and that's not even 4% of the entire crowd. So it's going great because of the content, the way that we are running it, and I'm sure you can replicate this in your organizations and have a great virtual sessions. The other thing that people do is something like a fact or crap, which is like you throw up a question and you say, hey, it's fact or crap. So which was the scenario around stating, hey, I'm asking you a question, you could say it's fact or crap, just like 61 minutes. What it also does is scenarios where we have picked out random people and we said the winner of that, which will be chosen, he will be given a 5,000 rupees Amazon voucher. And people are like, yay, and I've got audience zooming in terms of number of people. I've got people who have been sticking on with us for more than 90 minutes, grueling sessions, but I know that we've been able to engage them and keep them engaged for 90 minutes. You can do it. All of you can do it. And this is going to help you in a very, very long way. And the last tactic for today is the open mic. And this is the favorite part of my presentation. All right? And this is what I love doing in all my presentations. So let's look at what is an open mic. So open mic is we generally invite somebody from the audience and we pick up a random person, and then we put them on camera, and then we just have a casual chat, and that's going to drive the audience engagement. So whoever is interested to talk to me right now for about 5 seconds, can you start putting as yes in the question pane? Okay, I have 2 people who already said yes. Okay. Okay, I've got another person, Great. Okay, so now let's randomly pick a person. Okay, let's look at a number between 1 to 4. Okay, 3 is the number. Okay, who's the third person who said yes? Okay, there we have it. Mr. Ashwin Ramesh. Okay, where is Mr. Ashwin Ramesh? Okay, there he is. Okay, so Ashwin, I'm making you a panelist. So can you please unmute your line, and can you switch on your camera for me, please? Hi, Ashwin. Can you hear me?
Yes, Inigo, I can hear you pretty well.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Good. I really liked the webinar session. It's been very engaging, and it's been different from what we at our company have been doing in the past. And
Okay.
I'm glad that I joined the session.
Great. So are these tactics? Have you been using all these tactics together before, or did you have some new tactics that's come out which you think, hey, we should try this?
So I'll tell you what. So I'm a HR manager for a mid-size organization, and we've had employees across cities in Bangalore. And generally, for the new hire trainings, we want to use a platform, and we're also looking for something which is going to be engaging. And so it used to be very monotonous from what we were doing till now, but a lot of the tips that you've given on icebreakers, using a lot of humor in the presentation, polls was a brilliant thing, to get their attention back, because while we are doing a virtual session, it's very difficult to gauge the interest of the audience, and that's something which we cannot do because it's a virtual world, right? So these tips really helped me a lot.
Thanks a lot for all the kind words, Ashwin. I think it's people like you and this feedback that keeps people like me going, and I'm very happy that I've been able to share something with you that's going to help you in your daily work. Thanks for your time, and if you can switch off your camera and mute yourself, we will just continue with the presentation. But it was fun speaking to you as well.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.
Thanks a lot, Ashwin. So guys, this is how this open mic works. Imagine this, you do this on a virtual session where you randomly pick up and a person and then say, hey, this is a guy from some part of the country, part of your organization, how many people would have known them? And that's going to make people interested in joining the sessions. And it's going to be a fun scenario. And these are scenarios where you're going to have that personal connection with people, which you will normally miss in a virtual session. But in today's scenario, it's going to help you a lot. So those are the tactics. So I will now open it up for Q&A, and Drishti will come back online. Drishti can take the questions, and I'll start answering them.
Thank you, Inigo. Thank you for such a insightful session. And you have already got one question, and you went ahead and got him on video and mic as well. That was really cool. Now we can take the other questions that we have received, I think. And the first question that I can see here is from Zubin, who says that he's been using video conferencing tools to conduct webinars. What would be a few advantages of using a dedicated webinar platform?
So, see, a video conferencing device, or the way that you would run it, would logically be scenarios around, you would have higher bandwidth requirements. So imagine a scenario where there is somebody joining in from a tier B city, because that's what is happening with the ITES sector, or scenarios where people are joining from outside offices. They're going to have a very bad experience. They can't join from a browser. They can't join from scenarios where they could just connect with the least bandwidth, or scenarios where they would want to dial in from a telephone, be a part of the same session, right? a dedicated GoToWebinar or a webinar platform like what GoToWebinar is, we are able to offer things around no download options, which means people can join from their browsers. They don't need any special things for them to be a part of. They could just dial into a telephone number and be a part of the same session. We can record this particular session and give it back to them, which they can view at their own time, at their own pace. So a dedicated webinar platform would make a lot of sense for virtual sessions rather than any video conferencing equipment.
Okay. So the next question that we have is that what can someone do if there is a scheduled live webinar and the panelist is not available for some reason?
Oh, so that's where the product becomes very, very helpful, right? So imagine a scenario where, and this example keeps coming a lot of times when I do presentations, right? Imagine that I had invited Narendra Modi for a specific talk, right? And Narendra Modi says, hey, Inigo, I would love to be a part of your presentation, but I don't have time. I just got about 30 minutes and I can't travel to Bangalore, I'll be in Delhi, right? What I can do is I can shoot that video, play that back to people on a mode called as recorded events. So that recorded events, for the end participant, it will look live. So for the participant, it will look like a live session, but it's actually being a recording that's being played. And we can have a live Q&A, so when they ask the questions, they can answer that back on the chat, and they will have a feeling that it's a live session. So we can do the recorded sessions as names, or recorded sessions as a methodology, where you can not only leverage your existing video assets, but you can take care of time of your senior executives. Your CEO doesn't have to talk about the same topic to a team in India, then to a team in US, then to a team in UK. So that's at once, you replicate it 3 times. And at zero cost, no logistics, but better engagement, and everybody's going to feel more happy about it.
So while organizations have all these platforms in place and everything, one challenge that they generally face, and that's a question also that has come up here, is how to increase the participation for these webinars, how to get them to use these platforms.
So I think the fundamental thing goes back to ease of use. So if you look at the way that we have evolved, most of us today don't even send an SMS. We do a WhatsApp or an iMessage. The reason is it's ease of use. So number one, you need to have a platform that is easy to use. All right. So I don't want to own trumpet in here, but in scenarios where we have gone against in particular organizations, we have been able to show them an increase of about 20 to 25% in attendance just because the product was easy to use. You click the link, you join the meeting, right? And then there are certain hacks around the titles. For example, if it's blockchain, and if we want to give a very complex title, like blockchain for life or stuff like that, then people would not join. But imagine if it's like blockchain 101, or scenarios around what is blockchain, the fundamentals of blockchain, right? That's going to drive people to say, okay, I want to know what blockchain is, but I don't know. I would love to understand stuff, right? So those are ways in which you could tweak titles and have registrations. But the biggest to me that I've seen in the last 12 years in the collaboration industry is that using the right platform and the right product is going to drive registrations and drive your efficiency of each of the sessions that you do.
So the next question that is there is that on laptops it's generally convenient to watch these webinars and all, but in how is the user experience in terms of mobiles or tablets?
Oh, so that's again the platform that we are talking here, right? So if you have the right platform, for example, the one that we are using today, which is GoToWebinar, it can run on the laptops or the mobile phones or tablets, and you'll have the same experience, right? And we have another product called GoToWebcast, which can be a completely browser-based in scenarios where you are talking about 30, 40,000 people on a particular webinar. We are talking to customers of use cases where they want to look at onboarding 15 to 20,000 people at one shot. These are things that enterprises have never thought about in the last few years, but it's becoming a reality today because the scope of which they are working has changed, right? So the user experience is a factor of the capability of the platform. So I believe there are products out there, including us, who are able to deliver a great experience both on the desktop and the mobile phone. But again, look at your use case, look at what areas that you're going to work with. For example, is it only tier A, tier B, tier C? Then choose the right product. The moment you have the right platform, it's going to have a great impact on people.
So the other question is from Anshika, who's asking that, besides webinar, what are the other ways in which you can connect with the field employees located across India or other geographies?
So I think when we looked at it, we look at three methods in which we see people consuming content. One is blogs. So if you don't have blogs in your organization or for your department, it's time that you started one. So blogs are going to be a very, very important, crucial aspect where people are going to come and searching for information. And you can always redirect people to your blogs when you do these webinars. The second ones are scenarios around forums. So it could be an internet-based forum. It could also be an intranet-based forum where people come and discuss topics where they could learn things from. And the last one are videos. So which you need to have a curated video library specifically talking about things that they would want to learn. Is it technology, education, things around processes, things around escalations, so all that stuff. So these are the common methods in which you could engage. But again, there is a difference between whether you want to tell them or whether you want them to be continuously engaged. So a webinar is a great tool for you to engage with them and give them all information. But if you're looking at scenarios where you want to continuously be feeding them or reiterating some information to them, then use scenarios around these recorded events, videos, a video library, and then you can track usage on that. So it goes back to your use cases, but blogs, videos, and forums are the top places that you should probably look at investing in.
All right. Thank you, Inigo. So the next question is related to firewall and how it blocked for someone who was using the platform. It sort of blocked it, and then a lot of people were not able to plug in. So what do you recommend in this case?
So these are specific cases where I talked to you about the webcast platform, right? So a webcast platform is generally used by organizations for two specific reasons, right? One is scenarios where they're talking about attendee capacity, which is more than 5,000 people, concurrently, right? At the same time, you're going to have more than 5,000 people. Or the second scenario is where your audience are in a lockdown environment where they can't download apps or they can't install something, right? So then the product delivery is on browser-based, which means they open up a particular link and then they're able to watch the webinar. So we have done this for financial institutions which have got the most stringent of firewall security aspects, parameters to that, right? So again, goes back to the capability of the platform. So as long as you have the right partner, it's going to help you. And whoever asked this question, I think I could ask somebody from my team to get in touch with them, and we should be able to help them out with not only the firewall, but also building up their efficiency and effectiveness into their sessions. So their sessions are not only awesome, but the results on ROI are also great for them.
Thank you, Inigo. So the next one is so Sheena is asking if you can share another example for Tactic 5. If you can go back to Tactic 5 and share another example for that.
So I think I had covered that when I was presenting it. Yes. So I think the idea of Tactic 5 is to incite a mental response. So that's why I said use words like, am I correct? Are you with me? What do you think? Do you think I'm correct? Do you think my statement is in line with your expectations? So the moment you ask them a very close-ended question, your brain will automatically come up and say yes or no. The moment your brain says something, it means you're engaged. So it's going to help you. Use close-ended questions, but very relevant to the topic that you're presenting.
Thank you, Inigo. So another question that we have is related to micro-learning. And They're asking what is more powerful, webinar or micro learning videos?
So as I said for your previous question, right? So if you're looking at information dissemination, you're going to be telling information to people for the very first time. Very, very important that you use a webinar. But if you're going to be using scenarios where you're going to reinforce that concept, reinforce learning on a concept or things that you want them to remember, then videos come into picture.
So the next question and it sort of relates to this, because we are saying that how do we actually assess and find out that what is the impact that this webinar has created?
So I think in simpler terms, I think you're looking at how do you measure success of a webinar. So I think the analytics of the platform is very, very crucial. And in this particular session that we have just ran, I think we've been able to drill down attentiveness by people. So I'll know if every single person, what was his level of interaction and engagement in the session. So the question is today, can you do that on a physical session? You can't. But I can do that on a virtual session because of the ability to use the artificial intelligence for us. So we are an AI first company where we've been able to build that into all the products. For example, we'll be coming out with a voice assistant very shortly, which you could just go back and say, hey, start my meeting. And you could say, what are the analytics of my last webinar? It's going to tell you, hey, your last webinar was so-and-so, so many attendees, and your average rating across your session was 83%. And your attentiveness level was so much. Imagine if you could bring this back into your CRM or your HRMS and say, if anybody who's got an engagement of less than 80%, I'm going to mark your attendance as 0. E-learning companies are using that. And that's the power of AI, right? So AI can build into these products. And given that we are an AI first company, it comes very naturally to us. So it's been helping us. We are able to give them report analytics and also an ability to seamlessly sync with their HRMS. So it will be easy for me to measure the success of this particular session and for all sessions which happen on my platform.
That's great. So now, as we have only a few minutes left, maybe before we close the session, if you can summarize and share some things or a few key things that HR and organizations should keep in mind when they are choosing a platform to host their webinars and engage with their employees.
So I think only 3 things that come to my mind. Choose the right partner. This has been something that I've been talking to in all my presentations over the last few years, right? It becomes crucial for every organization to look at any enabler as a partner and not a vendor. The moment it becomes vendor supplier, the equations are very different. When it becomes partner, I am equally invested in your success. So look at the right partner who can deliver things for you, right? Number 2, look at what they have done in the market. And don't look at specifically like stating, hey, he has done this for this particular company. It has to have a wide range of use cases, wide range of capabilities that the person has got, and let it not limit your company's expansion plans. Commonly, we come across stating, hey, my partner doesn't have an presence in let's say China, and then so I can't grow. I'll have to go and find a new partner. So that's the problem. Let your partner not be the deciding factor for your expansion. Let your partner be a real partner in the way that you expand and you deliver irrespective of the region. And the third most critical, right? The content is yours, the delivery is yours, the people are yours, right? The platform should be an enabler, it should not be a deterrent. So as long as you got all these 3 things together, I think all your tactics are going to come and help you, and you're going to have massive success in all your jobs. And I don't see a reason why each and every one of the people here can't be superstars in their own right in their own organizations.
Thank you, Inigo. I think this has been a really great, engaging session because we got so many questions from the audience, and we even got the audience on the platform. So it was really great. Thank you for your time and sharing all your knowledge and experience with us and our audience here. I would also like to thank our partner, LogMeIn. And with this, we'll end today's webcast. See you next time. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot, Drishti, and it was a pleasure speaking to your audience.
Thank you. Thank you.